Hello everyone, I'm Roxy, 13 years old. Who would you call your parents? The ones who gave birth to you? Those who raised you? The people you live with? Sometimes they are the same people. In my case, far from it. My family history is much more complicated. Watch this video to the end and find out why I was adopted with my parents still alive. I had 2 dads. How many things I've heard about it. Everyone cared if I liked boys, and no one cared that my dads were the best people in the world. I loved Hal and Bernard, and they took good care of me, took care of my development, and entertained me. Sometimes we received letters from Tina. This is my surrogate mother. She didn't come to see me, but she was still interested in how I lived there, whether I was well fed. Well, I can say that it was pretty good. Very good. Our city is small, and there are not many people like my dad's. And they don't like them. Hal worked from home. It was easier for him. Bernard had to go to the office, but he was the best employee there, and they didn't fire him. It's just that the city we live in is very conservative. It is located in the Midwest, and traditional families are honored here, so that the work is from call to call and not creative. So no one was friends with us, but it could have been worse. Would you avoid your family if it caused you problems with your peers? I thought about it a lot when I was younger. If I was told to protect my dads or get a more normal life, what would I choose? Now I can answer this question with confidence. One day, no, I can't talk about it calmly. I was sitting and doing my homework, and then somebody started knocking on the door. So gently, quietly. I went out. There were some people and the police. I immediately said that my parents were not at home, and they said, "Baby, we know." And they said I should go to the station. What was the matter? I was not going anywhere without them. And then I heard the most terrible words in my life. Your parents were in an accident. I didn't think much after that. Call my family? But I had no other relatives. Hal and Bernard's parents disowned them when they started living together. I didn't even know their phone numbers. Did they even live in this city? I sat and cried in a corner, thinking that now no one would check my lessons, and then I pinched myself painfully for not grieving as I should. I then began to cry out loud when I was told that someone had come to take care of me in this situation. I clung to the chair and they couldn't get me out of it. I roared and screamed that I wasn't going anywhere, that I wasn't going to any relatives, that Hal and Bernard were still alive. I was told that I couldn't live alone anyway. I was met by a friendly man who turned out to be a cousin of Bernard and was engaged in farming, so he lived in the country. But he was talkative and persuaded me. His name was Will, said that it would be good for me to recover now, away from the places where Hal and Bernard were injured. Well, he was probably right. At least I believed him. He lived in a remote area that was almost a 3-hour drive away. He had his own farm, a house, and 8 children. Seriously, I hadn't seen as many kids in children's cartoons as this guy had. His wife was quiet and expressionless, and she didn't even kiss me when I arrived. Maybe because if she kissed me, she would stop setting up the Cuisinart. I was well fed, but I was confused that their house was so quiet and strange, or what. I asked if I could watch TV, but Will told me sternly that they didn't have a TV. I almost dropped my fork. What else did they do here? Could I read something? Good idea, but you have to get up early tomorrow. Yes, that's right. If I wanted to get to school, I would have to get up 2 hours earlier. So cool. I was put up with the other girls and they were already going to bed even though it was only 8 o'clock. They didn't talk to me and I was very shy. Maybe I was not needed here at all. I couldn't sleep, and I went to the kitchen for a drink of water. But Will was in the kitchen talking to a police officer. They didn't notice me. I hid around the corner and what I heard about my parents. What would you do if someone scolded your parents in front of you? Would you start fighting? Would you argue with them? Would you ignore it? I was used to ignoring nasty things, but now it was a completely different situation. Will said they led a depraved life. Oh yes, a depraved life. A barbecue party and pizza for the holiday. Said they were turning me into a boy. Yes, my hair was shorter than that of his clumpy daughters. He said that they were drug addicts and that's why they got into an accident. At this point, my patience broke. I screamed that it wasn't true. Will screamed that I should be in bed. The officer tried to calm the poor child, but I had enough time to hear from him that the accident was for the best, that I would be better off without my dads. I tried to run away from this house several times. I was ruining my clothes, I broke their equipment on the field, I hid in the cowshed so I wouldn't have to sit at the same table with these degenerates. They wanted to make me grow my hair, but I cut it off, and then I got it in the neck and the tirade for an hour and a half. That I was just as unbearable as my parents. It was just awful. Very soon, a small shabby car drove up to the house. And out of it came a tiny woman in a modest headscarf and an ugly dress. She apologized 1,000 times, said her name was Tina, and she was my mother? Wait, what? This little thing in the headscarf? Will was interested in what she would say to him, and Tina told him that she had a difficult life situation and she had to give birth to a baby for these people. And she so would like to have her own. So this chick wrote me letters? Really? Will was glad to see her, and she said that she was pleased about her conscience and that he hoped for a happy and healthy future for his niece. In your dreams. I was not going anywhere with her. I clung to my chair and started yelling things about that woman and Will and everyone else, but Will slapped me in the face and dragged me to the car of this saint. And my mother only thanked him for saving me. I gave my word to run away as soon as we stopped somewhere. But as soon as we left the house, Saint Tina swore dirty, took off the headscarf, and my brain just burned out at that moment. She was bald and with tattoos. What? Hi, daughter, Tina said to me. I was speechless and she kept talking. It turned out that she was an anarchist activist and she met my dads when they were all young and wild, and she was happy to help them with the baby. Her lifestyle wasn't exactly conducive for parenting, but she was always interested in my life, and when she couldn't reach my dad's again, she came to town to sort it out in person. And that's how it got to me. I screamed with joy and hugged her tight. Tina drove me home, gave me pizza, and told me not to worry about anything. Will wouldn't bother me anymore. Hal came out of the coma a couple of days later, and a week later, I was allowed to visit him. Bernard was also on the mend, but he wasn't feeling well yet, so Hal suggested that Tina and I move to a bigger city. But they would need help. Hal patted me and told me they'd get to us anyway, but they couldn't keep an eye on me yet. And when they could walk, they would definitely move in with us, take me back, and we would live as before. And I didn't mind. I still miss Hal and Bernard very much, but I'm glad my mom is a great woman and not at all willing to take me away from my beloved parents. I would like to grow up like her. Maybe Will was right and my gay parents really messed me up. But I would never trade the freedom they gave me for the false bondage that reigned in the home of my so-called foster family, where there was neither love nor kindness, Subscribe to our channel, put likes, and send your interesting life stories.